I'm Dr. Corey Cutler. I'm the director of the stem cell transplant program at the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute in Boston, Massachusetts. And today we'll discuss how I choose agents in second line and beyond for patients with steroid-resistant or refractory chronic graft versus host disease. There are several different factors that I use when making a decision on which agent to use following failure of corticosteroids. There are three important considerations. The first are FDA labels, the presence of ongoing toxicity or side effects that the patient is experiencing, and the third is the organs or systems that are involved that I'm trying to target. With respect to FDA labels, there are currently two drugs that are FDA approved in the second line for steroid refractory chronic graft versus host disease, and those are ibrutinib and ruxolitinib. And then in the third line for steroid refractory chronic graft versus host disease, we have belumosudil and axatilimab. And while I try to follow FDA labeling recommendations, sometimes, particularly as it pertains to toxicities, I do have to stray away from that. But for the most part, choosing a second line agent for me is generally a decision between ibrutinib or ruxolitinib based on the labels. And then taking toxicity into consideration, I try to use ruxolitinib the vast majority of the time because at the FDA-approved doses, it is far more tolerable than ibrutinib. For patients who have ongoing moderate to severe cytopenias, I will sometimes shy away from ruxolitinib and choose ibrutinib. And for patients who have B-cell malignancies, I will sometimes choose ibrutinib in the second line because it might provide some protection against malignant relapse, but that's unproven. Once we get to the third line, my choices are belumosudil and axatilimab, and for the most part, I choose belumosudil because it's orally available, and of all of the agents approved in steroid refractory chronic GvHD, it's the best tolerated. And therefore, for the vast majority of my patients, belumosudil is chosen in the third line. For patients who have very severe or active bronchiolitis obliterans, I sometimes choose belumosudil in the second line based on some anecdotal evidence suggesting that belumosudil might be able to reverse the changes of bronchiolitis, as well as the demonstration that patients with earlier stage bronchiolitis tend to respond better overall. I choose axatilimab infrequently in the third line. It is generally reserved for patients in the fourth line, mainly because of the mode of administration and the time required to receive doses every other week. In terms of toxicities, when choosing a third-line agent, I will avoid belumosudil in patients who have elevations in their liver function. And similarly, I avoid axatilimab for patients who have baseline changes in liver function or pancreatic function that might be worsened by the axatilimab administration. Finally, and what people are most concerned about, is how I choose drugs based on what organs are involved. And unfortunately, today, there is no great way to select an agent that will specifically target the organ or several organ manifestations that we want in graft versus host disease. And therefore, for the most part, I am agnostic to organ manifestations when choosing an agent to use. While it is reported that belumosudil and axatilimab have specific antifibrotic activity, there certainly is some with ruxolitinib and probably with ibrutinib as well. And on the flip side, both belumosudil and axatilimab appear to also target the inflammatory manifestations of chronic graft versus host disease. So I personally do not choose an agent based solely on what organs are involved, choosing mainly based on toxicity and trying to follow FDA-based recommendations.